Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Curran from Endless Events, and today we have a little bit of a different episode lined up for you guys. This has been a highly demanded topic, and finally I had the ability to get everybody on board and on one single page together. And today we're talking a little bit about how Endless does its marketing. And literally I hear this all the time from everybody that they want to hear the behind the scenes of how we make it work, how we do it. So I brought together our awesome heads of each department to be able to talk about how we do it and how we're going to make it happen. So let's kick into that intro and start diving into some tactical marketing tips. Let's go.
It's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, so you know what that means. It's time for another episode of Event Icons, presented by Endless Events. The show where you get to ask the icons of the events industry anything. Just go to www.event-icons.com to ask questions. Our iconic guests will answer them live during the entire show. Before we get started, the more people we have watching, the better the conversation. So please help share Event Icons on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Just tell your friends to watch at www.event-icons.com. Now, without any further delay, this is Event Icons.
All right, we're back. And like I said, I brought together four amazing, well, I shouldn't say four, three amazing people, because I'm not counting myself on this one. Three amazing people, part of our marketing team that are heads of different departments and have different, roles within the company. So I want to introduce you guys to them because I want to start diving into the tactical, what they do, what are the different ways we do things, all the stuff that you guys want to know. So make sure to ask those questions in the chat if you're curious how we do our content, how you do our marketing, anything like that, and we want to hear it. So let's dive right on in, and I'm going to start off with, let's go with the person who's been around the longest, and that is Kaitlin Colston. Kaitlin, actually, fun fact, so obviously I have backstories for all these people because I work with them every single day, but Kaitlin was one of our first employees when we got our first ever office, when we had an actual office. Now we're all remote, obviously. And Kaitlin was like our head of front office / cold caller extraordinaire. We'd give her lists of like random companies and just tell her to call them and try to get business. But now Kaitlin is in charge of all of our content. And she literally, every single word that gets published, every podcast, every video, it all goes across Kaitlin's desk, and she is in charge of all the quality, the topics, everything. And when I have crazy ideas for topics, usually I have Kaitlin sound check them beforehand. But thank you so much for joining us, Kaitlin, and for all your awesome work that you do for all of our content. Really quickly, can you tell everyone a little bit about, in like one sentence or less, if I did a good job, what do you actually do?
Yeah, I think you did a good job. I run the content. So make sure that everything from the podcast to videos that we do and the blogs, everything align with our brand and are helpful to event planners, basically.
And what's a random fun fact that people should know about you?
I am like super obsessed with Disney. Will can verify that.
I think you just have to look at the backdrop and all the little subtle Disney things in the backdrop. The teacup and the clock.
Boy, it's Miss Potts, but okay.
Okay. We're gonna have a very sassy episode too, guys. So be prepared. These guys, you can see that these guys, they know how to keep me in my place. All right. So going from Kaitlin, also right below her, we got Sarah Christl in the house. Sarah, also, fun fact, I think that the stories of how we ended up meeting each other is like some of the best parts. So Sarah, actually, I spoke in her class, your freshman, was it freshman year?
I think so, yeah, which is wild.
Forever ago. And just to give you context, she now just graduated from ASU, but spoke in not one of her class, sorry, one of the clubs that she was a part of. And I gave my how I started the company talk, and then she hounded me down. We grabbed coffee or lunch or something like that, and I was like, oh my God, you're really smart. You have to come work for us. So I convinced you to leave your other part-time job to come work and do marketing at Endless. which is super duper awesome. That was like obviously like a million years ago. It feels like now, obviously graduate. And Sarah's in charge of what we call marketing automation. So for all those people who watch the show, you probably get an email every week from Sarah, or you probably get some sort of email from Sarah at some point. She's in charge of everything that hits everyone's email inboxes, all the automations that mark people as qualified and all those things like that. She's definitely a HubSpot guru. And I think you pretty much have every single certification that exists when it comes to HubSpot. So thank you so much for joining us, Sarah, and all your awesome work in the marketing automation stuff.
Yeah.
And real quick, because I'm not sure if I explained these things properly, can you tell everyone a little bit about what you do beyond just the marketing automation stuff?
Yeah, no, you did it pretty good. Yeah, so everything to emails. I also help with a lot of the landing pages and things like that. So all of our web pages from our offers that you guys see. But yeah, mostly it's everything that's automated and chatbots on our website, anything that kind of is point of contact with you guys. You've probably been dealing with me. It was actually fun to send out the email today because I was like, oh, I'm going to be on it. So finally you can put a name to the face.
Does the email say that you're going to be on the show?
Oh yeah, I definitely said that. Yours truly will be starring along with my lovely team.
Will be starring.
It's just a gigantic photo. Like, here's why you should join Sarah's face.
No, I was like so excited because usually I'm like, oh, I'm not exactly sure what the topic is, but I was like, today I know exactly what we're talking about.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Awesome. Well, we'll jump into more too as we go along. But I have to introduce our third, but definitely not least, compadre in the house, Sahedi Khan. Sahedi is in charge of what's called demand generation, and Sahedi been working for the company for 3 years now.
It's been 3 years. Yeah,
it's been like forever. So he's in charge of demand generation, and just to give everyone an idea, Sahedi's been named multiple times by multiple people on the team as like one of the smartest people we've ever met. He knows how to look at stats and knows how to figure out where people are, how to get them to the site. Basically, I mean, let me know if I'm explaining this right. Demand generation is in charge of just getting everybody to the website and trying to just draw people that may not have heard of us to come and check out and convert on our site. Did I explain that right?
Exactly.
So everything from Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, all the social posts, so like everything that social goes out comes from your team. Like so much stuff. And then also, everyone calls me the Flash because I'm so fast. Sahedi can get things done even faster than me. So if you ever want to meet someone who's quicker than me, I think we got a Wally West on our hands. But yeah, Sahedi, explain a little bit about what you do. And obviously, I like very high level skimmed over all the stuff that you do and somehow fit into a normal week.
Thank you so much, Will. So basically, I look after the demand generation, which includes the Facebook paid advertising and LinkedIn paid advertising. And simultaneously, we also look over the whole social efforts that we do for Endless Events, which includes social publishing and social monitoring. So basically, what we try to do is create the awareness and create the number of visitors for our websites that we are looking for in order to generate substantial number of leads.
I love it. In this last quarter, you figured out a way to like cut the cost of a marketing qualified lead by like half, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're crazy. I don't know how you do these things. Magic. Magic. All right. Well, I want to dive into the tacticalness. Everyone gets kind of a basic idea now, I think, as far as what everyone does that is here on the show. Obviously, there's a much bigger team that is not here that sits and works side by side with each of us every single day. I'm definitely, just so everyone knows my role, I'm not really in charge of anything. I just kind of come in here and come up with the random ideas. I tend to be more of a rut in this getting in the process than anything, just coming up with random ideas. Guys, I have a new idea for a new podcast and things like that.
All the time.
These guys are the ones that make it happen. So whenever you guys want to know how the marketing happens, it's all these guys right here. So but there's obviously a larger teams that all do more tactical things like have more hands-on with the social, people who are actually writing the content, things like that. But I think that we wanted to make sure that we kept it super concise. So we had our 3 department level heads inside the marketing team here today. So I want to dive into something really, really quick. And before we get into it, I don't want to linger too much, I think, on the high level stuff that I think everyone knows. I really want to get a tactical, what's been working, what have we noticed that are big trends. So just so if anyone's curious how we do our marketing, the philosophy behind Endless's marketing very much is HubSpot's inbound process. So if you don't know what that is, I highly recommend you go check it out. Go check out HubSpot. Go get certified in all their stuff and things like that, because that's pretty much all the philosophies that we all follow. So now that you got that under your belt, I want to dive into the more advanced stuff, because I think you guys are craving the tacticalness of it all. So let's go through really quickly. What is kind of the big thing that you are working on that you see as like a trend in marketing that you see Endless working on today? So just give everybody a little bit more of an idea as far as like, where do you see marketing going, and kind of what your big concerns or things that you're working on as well. So maybe we'll start with victim number one. Sarah looks very confident, so we're gonna start with Sarah. Sarah, what's been going on in the marketing world, and kind of like what are you working on, and where do you see marketing stuff going, and big things that we're working on?
Yeah, I feel like I'm in class. I just got like cold called on. I'm like, oh gosh, I didn't do the reading.
I mean, Kaitlin was doing the like, don't call on me, I'm breaking. You just kind of like, don't look at me either. So you lost that one.
Constantly smiling, so I kind of did it to myself. But yeah, so I think definitely one of the things that has been more of a trend, and I think it could be a little bit higher level, but I can go into deeper stuff that I've been trying to implement, is definitely making all of the interactions that you have with people more personal. And I know that's been a trend for a long time, and it's kind of always been the idea from the beginning, but I think it's where a lot of people fall short, especially with all the new tools and integrations and different things that you can do. And you have the ability to create pop-ups on every single page and make chatbots everywhere. And especially with my job with automation, I think it really is easy to get kind of complacent with what you're doing and kind of set something in motion and then to never look back at it again. But I think obviously a lot of inbound is a lot about testing and things like that, and a really iterative process of like, you can never let it go. You just keep like constantly updating things. But I think the biggest trend with that right now is definitely personalization. And just to the fact where even I've been redoing all of my content to really make it seem, at least if it's not personal and that person knows that it's an automated HubSpot email. Some people are too smart and they know, but at least delighting them and making it fun or humorous. Or we have something that we just did with all the bots, and if someone says, tell me a story, we have it automated to tell them this crazy story about how Endless started with starring Will with all these gifts. So just things like that, and making it a really fun user experience. And that's a good HubSpot buzzword, the user experience, but just making it fun. And if people like know that they're on an email list, at least giving them something to smile at and something to laugh at, and making them feel at least valued.
Anything you guys want to add on to that? Nope. All right. Kaitlin, you're next up. Tell us what you're working on and what's big that's going on.
For sure. So content, what's big, I think right now, or what is becoming big, is video. Everyone's kind of figured out the blog, make a blog and get your SEO that way. But another way that is less people are using right now is video to engage with their audiences. And so we're kind of working through that. We started about a year ago with video, and we've seen a lot of our engagement levels raise, and we're exploring YouTube channels now and all kinds of things like that. So just right now I think the trend will be to, instead of just blasting people with a million blogs, everyone has figured out content. So everyone is getting just slammed with content now, and people are kind of just shutting it off. They don't want to hear it. How do you reach that audience another way? And so we're looking at video right now, and then also just less blogs, but more quality blogs.
Just to give everyone an idea as far as the type of video content that we're producing, how many different videos are we producing on a weekly basis?
Oh, a lot. Like I would say around like 5 to 10-ish. And it depends. Like some of them are smaller Instagram stories, and some of them are longer YouTube, like top 10 of certain event trends, things like that. And then we have the video podcast, obviously we're on right now, as well as just some kind of complementary videos to our larger content blogs. So there's just a different way to digest all of our information.
Nice. And Sarah, what have you noticed as far as when it comes to video, like how it affects email? Have you been noticing like click-through rates go up? I'm asking these questions because I have actually looked at like the stats
Naturally.
recently. Like we've been obviously embedding videos now into emails too. Have you seen like a significant increase in click-through rate and that sort of stuff, engagement?
Yeah, so that's definitely something that we're trying to do more with like teaching people. It's like a really easy thing, just like click this video and you can see. We can't like fully embed anything yet, but there's like a beta test for that right now in HubSpot. So I think once that becomes a thing and they can actually see the video right in the email, that's going to be huge. So I haven't really been able to really see if it's like helping like exact click-through rates to what we want them to go to, but they're clicking through to the video, so at least that's really a positive thing. But I've definitely seen a huge difference in landing page time on page. So a lot of people, we've been testing whether or not to autoplay it or mute it or click to play sound or click to just to play it. And when we have it on that autoplay setting, the on time time on page just goes through the roof, and people are really like staying on and being more engaged with the page. So that's been kind of interesting, but I definitely am excited to see when it's fully embedded in email what that can do.
Nice. And Sahedi, what about you on video for social and demand gen? I think you've really transformed the amount of social posts from a lot of images and text to video, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking of what's the next big trend in social media. It's definitely video. What we did is that we are repurposing all our podcasts that we are producing and all the videos that we are producing on a weekly basis, and highlighting the key points and the key part of the videos into the repurposed assets that we are producing and posting them on a regular basis on social profiles. People tend to engage a lot when they are because videos are more interactive and engaging, definitely, and people are definitely engaging more, and we are getting a huge response compared to what we are getting using general graphics that we have been previously doing. And also in many occasions we can see that people are not encouraged or interested to see the whole video. So when you are cutting down and producing lots of video contents and making it smaller, they seem to react to the videos and finally get enticed to watch the whole episode of that we are producing. Yeah.
I think we were talking about that today in Slack too, because they were talking about like, hey, maybe we should test out like 1 minute, 2 minute long videos, and we were saying like, oh, we're not sure if they're going to convert as well as the short like 20-second videos, which is crazy. Attention spans getting smaller every single day. Is there anything else you want to add as far as like trends that you're seeing or big things that you're working on?
Web definitely. I can see that the content is playing a big role as we are moving ahead. And paid advertising has been really successful for us, and it will the more we are moving ahead and the more sophisticated the system is getting, and the more as just last year LinkedIn didn't offer any lookalike audiences. Now we have lookalike audiences, so the systems are getting more sophisticated and more optimized, and the more features are being introduced to help marketers to advertise their campaigns more effectively. So that's one more thing. And yeah, please.
I was gonna say, I know the answer to this question already, so that's one of the problems. I'm like a really bad host right now because I know the answers to some of these questions. They're very leading questions, but people ask me all the time too, like what platforms have worked most successfully for us on advertising. So what have you seen as far as advertising platforms?
LinkedIn definitely brings in more qualified leads compared to Facebook in our industry. Facebook can be successful for others, and definitely within the same industry, different strategies can bring in more qualified leads from the same platform. It might not work for us, but maybe work for other companies. So definitely LinkedIn is working much more better in terms of generating leads for us. Facebook has been more cost effective, and we also been doing our lead nurturing campaign on Facebook, which is converting our leads into MQLs into sales qualified leads. We have been using Facebook for that.
Nice. And those are like we show case studies and things like that. Once we know they're a qualified person, that's the only time we start to tell them we're an AV company. Usually, I think most people probably who are watching this, and this is really weird because we're like sharing all of our secrets. But most people who probably watch the show, I bet 50% of you don't even know that Endless is an AV company. And we do that on purpose because we want to sell only to the people that we feel are most qualified, because, resources are slim and you don't want to spend time selling to people who maybe don't have the budgets to hire us or might not be a good fit. And I think that's a big problem sometimes with marketing is it's too much of a net. And whereas you really want to be more like the spear along the way. Okay, I have like a gazillion questions that keep going. See, the audience is just blowing up right now. Let's see. When it comes to big pitfalls, you think that big lessons that you've learned over the last year, what have you thought that was like maybe something that you're like, I thought this was going to be huge and like this was going to crush it and it totally didn't work. And like a big lesson that you learned. What's a big lesson I think that you've learned when it comes to the marketing over the last year, maybe 2 years or a lifetime? So many lessons. Anyone feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I can jump in just because I learned a lot just within my few years here. I think the biggest one being frequency and length of emails have been a really interesting thing to play with. And they're something that's like really touchy and something that HubSpot kind of is like, oh yeah, like emails booming, use as many as you want, like almost like the idea that, you know, they think they acknowledge that there is a balance, but just they kind of err on the side of like, send as many as you want. And that's something that we've kind of been seeing as like, definitely been a learning experience for me, definitely been a pitfall of like, okay, we get it. You guys use HubSpot. You guys like to send emails. And I think finding that sweet balance of still being able to engage with our audience while also not bombarding them. It sounds so easy in theory, but it really just comes down to testing it and sending, you know, making delays a little bit longer so people aren't getting one every day. Maybe it's one every week. And so just playing with that has been really interesting to me. I've seen, I've changed some of the delays just from our normal subscriber drip campaign. I think it was once every day for a week, just to 3 days, just to give them a little bit of a break, maybe give them a weekend thrown in there, and click-through rates have just skyrocketed since then. So that's been a really interesting thing. But yeah, I definitely fell into the pitfall of, oh, there's no such thing as too many emails, because there definitely is.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think testing is?
Oh, through the roof. 10, 11. I don't know. We'll A/B test it. 10 or 9. No, but no, I definitely think testing is huge. That's probably been my best friend through all of this marketing automation. And just being able to have that feature is huge, because it's definitely something that I do not take for granted at all. Just being able to change one little thing and see how that affects people. And it's not even just so much as like, oh, like the button that's blue, more people click on. It's really just like understanding the people that you are interacting with and like your audience, and just knowing what they prefer and giving that to them. So really, like at the other end of it, it's just making your people happy. But yeah, testing has been huge, because I know what I like, but I don't necessarily know what all the event professionals in the world like. So that's been really interesting.
Cool. All right. Who wants to do the next big learning?
Well, I'll kind of bounce off of Sarah. So like she mentioned, knowing your audience. So when Will and I kind of started the blog up like a long time ago, we were just kind of posting things to see if it sticks, like with no real plan, I would say. Would you agree with that?
Oh God, yeah. I like the articles. Some of them are still like in the archives.
Yeah, and I buried some, but we had like.
I hope we did.
We did. Well, we used to have things like top 100 songs of the month, like really random stuff. And for us, I think my biggest learning is that I've learned that we have to stay focused, because it's very easy that me and Will both want to make content on a billion different things, and sometimes it just doesn't really fit into the master plan. And so staying focused and consistent and true to the brand and true to our audience, making sure that what we're writing is actually, and what we're putting on video and our podcast is actually helpful to our customers and event planners everywhere and all of that, instead of just what we want to do.
I sometimes really just want to do what I want to do sometimes.
I know. I have to shut it down.
Shut it down. Shut it down. For as far as like people balancing guest posts and, you know, your own content, I mean, you get emailed every single day asking to post content on it, because like our domain rank is like through the roof, right? And domain rank is just like it just says like how awesome your domain is and how easy it is for you to rank for stuff, right? So with that being said, how do you choose who to post content on our site?
So I'm very picky. I used to at first not be picky about that at all. I'd be like, oh my God, a free blog. Like, sure, I don't have to write one this week, so I'll put that on. But through the years, I've become really particular about it. And I would say like probably like 75 to 80% of them get turned down in a nice way. But just like if they're not really fitting our vision and they don't fit like our company culture, and I don't feel like they're going to be helpful to our audience, then, you have to weed them out. And sometimes it's, you want to let everybody have an opportunity, but you also have to protect your blog and your brand. And so I would say that everyone, a couple of things we do is having a blogging guide that will walk any guest blogger through what the requirements are. It's like 2,500 words and a certain amount of images and where they can get the images and what our voice sounds like, all of that. So starting with a blogging guide is helpful. That will weed people out right away who don't want to maybe write as much. And then also just, knowing your audience and your plan. And if their blog maybe sounds cool, but doesn't fit into that plan, maybe I suggest a different blog that would be good for them to go to, or just politely say, this one's not a good fit, but if you ever have something, more related, come email me again and we'll see if we can make it work. So I would say something like that. You have to learn to say no, because you don't want to dilute your blog by having like some crappy content.
Quality over quantity, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Sahedi, you had a lot of learnings. You've been experimenting like crazy. So I think everyone's going to want to hear from you. What's been your biggest learning over the last year?
As you said, I have been doing a lot of experiments, especially with Facebook advertisement and LinkedIn. So the biggest learning is that when you are testing your advertisement, you have to be very careful with the budget that you are using for the advertisements. So you do not exceed the limits as you move ahead. So part of the thing is that when you are testing, you just keep on experimenting because you want to see the results as more and more results as you move ahead. So you have to you have to have a keen eye for all other parameters, just not the experiment parts and the results on that. So that's a learning for me, because sometimes when you are too much involved with the results, and rather than the actual process, there are plenty of processes associated with demand generation through paid advertisement. So sometimes it happens that you may exceed your budget, and so you have to be very careful and set the parameters before the experiment begins, so that you do not exceed your limits. In not just in terms of budget, there are so many more parameters, like there is a deadline, there are copies to create, there are photos to make. So you have to be very precise on that and schedule beforehand with all the experimentation that you do.
I love it. All right. This is where now I got through all my predetermined questions to get the conversation started. And this is where the audience, I want you guys to ask your questions, because we're really here to answer your questions. Obviously, it's the point of this show, but also at the same time too, like I can ask a million questions, but it might be redundant or you don't really care about it, whatever it may be. So while you guys are asking questions over in the chat, I'm going to get one more question kind of going. When it comes to, first steps within each of your departments or teams, basically you have content, we have, general marketing automation, we have demand gen. What do you think are some of the best first steps that someone can take to building out what we've done? Because obviously we're years into this now. I think we've been doing the inbound strategy for 5 years or something like that now. And obviously you're not going to jump in and be at this level unless you dump a gazillion dollars into it, which in that case, just give me that money, I'll do it for you. I'm just kidding. I don't do marketing. Don't ask me to do your marketing, because I'm not good at doing other people's marketing. I'm good at doing my own. So with that being said, what are you guys where do you see a baby step being that people can do to start moving up this, and where do they build from there? So let's start with I think the one that most people ask me about, which is the content side. So Kaitlin, what's the first step to starting to build this content out and kind of leveling up that content to the next level to get to the point where multiple writers, videos, all these things like that?
For sure. Well, I get that question a lot too. And the biggest thing I see is when people are starting, they don't have any kind of direction. So they maybe don't know who their target audience even is yet. And so if you don't know who that target audience is, then you're kind of just throwing darts at a wall and hoping something sticks. So I think the biggest thing first would be knowing who you're writing for. what your client looks like, what are they into, what do they need, and how can you help them solve their problems. Past that is consistency. I see so many people, it kind of drives me nuts, but I see so many people that start blogs and then they're like, yeah, I'm going to start a blog. And they post like one post a month. And then 6 months later, they post another post, and it's just not consistent. And even if you're consistency, you might not be able to, do 4 blogs a week starting out, which that's fine. Most people can't. Starting with maybe 1 every 2 weeks, or even 1 a week, something like that, something more attainable, and having and sticking with it and being consistent, because that's what's going to grow your audience as long as you already have targeted it towards your audience.
I love it. I'll add a bonus tip on that one too. That consistency portion. A lot of people wonder how to be consistent, and learn this good one, I think, from our good friend Shayna over at Repurpose House, who actually recommended this to me, and I didn't realize we were subtly doing this strategy. But start with like a podcast. You can talk all day long, right? It's always easy for you to hop on, interview people, do all that sort of stuff. And then you turn that into a blog post, then turn that into a YouTube video, then take the little clips like we do on the repurposing and turn them into shorter clips. And you can turn that one asset into like a lot of different things very, very quickly, just in the exact same way that we do ours as well. Allows you to be really consistent. And then setting a schedule for it too. People always ask me how the hell we did a weekly video podcast every single week. And it's called being crazy. So don't be crazy, or do be crazy, I guess. All right. Who wants to go next? Who wants to talk a little bit about their next steps? I'm going to pick on Sahedi. He's looking suspicious over there. Gotta get one.
Yeah. Are we talking about the next steps or the first steps?
Yeah, like the first, I'd say like let's say second steps, because I think everyone, like, it's so easy to see those first steps. Like, oh yeah, blogging, just start blogging, write one article, But what do you think like is the second step to kind of going to that next level?
After you are done with your content, you would want to promote it. So the first thing that would come, that's actually Kaitlin's part, which is doing foolproof SEO for the contents. Definitely, there are tons of strategies associated with SEO. We cannot go into the details, but we would definitely want to promote the blog contents itself to generate some organic traffic, maybe. And then comes my department, which is which I would say promoting the contents through various social medias. There are plenty of social medias that we are using, and you can choose the topmost ones. You should be fine. And also, sometimes the organic traffic itself is not enough, so you would want to promote maybe depending on your objective and amount of reach and exposure that you want to achieve. Depending on that, you would want to invest in paid marketing. Maybe that's really very successful if you can do it rightly. So those would be the next steps to actually promote the contents. There are various ways you can promote the contents, maybe. And as you said, Shana is doing an awesome job for us for repurposing the contents. We can produce plenty of contents from one single content and break it down into each individual video contents, and that tends to generate a lot of views as well.
I'm just going to layer bonus tips on top of this stuff too for you guys. LinkedIn groups have also been really successful for us. Sahedi, how many LinkedIn groups are we a part of?
We are part of currently 40.
40 different LinkedIn groups that we are active in every single day.
Yeah,
right?
We are active in every single day.
And people think to themselves like, that's why Sahedi has a team. Like, and that's why I call him Wally West. I'm going to start calling you Wally West from now on. 40 different groups, super duper successful for us. I think like half of our marketing qualified leads come from LinkedIn groups or something.
Yeah.
Insane. Hopefully no one actually listens to this podcast. Otherwise we just lost one of our best secrets. All right, there you go. Okay, cool. Sarah, last but not least, next steps or second steps, we'll call them.
Yeah, I think definitely like starting from the beginning, having everything organized and like having a plan. Cause I definitely think I came in to our marketing automation situation with it already kind of underway, which was great. Everything was running. It was like pretty easy to figure out like how a workflow worked and all that, because I had examples and tangible emails to like base stuff off of, which was great. But I think definitely I kind of got lost in the sea of email and the wonderful world of workflows and all that stuff. So I definitely think having a plan and having some sort of organizational strategy. Every single one of my emails is labeled accordingly to the workflow it's in, to the point where I just like get OCD about it and rename other emails just to make sure they fit in like one happy family. So I definitely think having that organization system from the start is going to be really helpful, because right now I'm going through the process of auditing all of my old workflows and emails and landing pages, which can be a little bit of a mess. But I think like once it's all organized, you can really just get the full scope of what's going on, because it's the worst when you have emails being sent out that you didn't know were still being sent out, or different things like that. So I think just having everything organized from the beginning will be a lot easier than just making emails left and right and having to solve that problem in the future.
I definitely agree. Sarah knows for sure, but when we redid the blog CTAs, Sahedi, who's very fast, helped me with those.
What's a CTA? Wait, jargon jail.
Sorry.
Jargon jail. What's a CTA?
CTA, jargon jail. I like it. CTA is a call to action. So we're not just posting our blogs for fun, obviously. Everything that I write or my team is writing is related to one of our content offers, which is like basically the CTA encourages a viewer to click on that. It's call to action, and then they'll be sent to one of the landing pages that Sarah makes. And those landing pages encourage them to download something. It could be like an event planning checklist or a budget spreadsheet, AV restriction guide, something like that. And then they'll download it. And Sarah has filters set up that once they get to the landing page, kind of filter out people who aren't qualified, and then people who are qualified to work with us go through a billion of her email funnels and go to the sales team and all that. So, but when I was sorting through them all, we had a lot of them, and we kind of refined the process and made everything cleaner. They weren't organized or labeled very well, and it was very trying to see whose was
You're
where.
welcome.
Thank you. But I think we've got it now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm not an organized person, so you definitely make sure that you have organized people on your team if you want to do this at scale for sure. I'll give a bonus tip around email too for everybody. One of our most successful email strategies, campaign thingies, is our subscriber nurturing campaign. So if you've ever subscribed to the blog, which obviously you're watching the show, you do, or if you don't, if you're watching this on your favorite podcasting platform, make sure that you go to event-icons.com and subscribe. But that email campaign crushes it. And I actually got the idea from a software called Groove, and they basically offered up their template for how they do it. It's like a welcome email. Then you send them, their best pieces of content that you have written, and then you say, here's all the best pieces of content that are written elsewhere, and then you send them a content offer. And like that 4-step process, I think, I don't know, like Sarah probably knows the stats better than me, but that probably brings in like, I think your like subscriber nurturing converts people up the funnel at like a 50% rate or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it's really high. I think anywhere from like 40 to 50. And it's been growing. I've been playing with like the click-through rates and stuff too. So it's pretty successful. I think it really engages people and is like a really nice introduction to our company, because a lot of it is from you, and it's like we have a welcome video, and so it's just a really nice like easing into the company, which is cool.
Also, pro tip, if you're going to send emails from your CEO or from like somebody like Sarah or something, give the ability for that person to respond. So every email that gets sent from me, if you reply to it, it goes straight to my inbox. I don't know if that's a bad thing for me to let you know, but it's pretty obvious. I mean, it says from my email and it says my email address, but I can't tell you how many times I've gotten if you get that email, it'll say, like, my favorite line is, if you're ever in Phoenix, which is where I technically say my cats live, but I'm occasionally here 40% of the time. Let me know, and I'd love to grab coffee. And I can't tell you how many people take me up on that offer who end up becoming clients, and it's crazy. It's a super successful line, so you would be surprised. All right, I'm running out of things to ask about you guys because I feel like I could go a million different directions with this. What do you think that? Let's see. I'm trying to think of a really, really good question. For once, I'm like actually stumped. I have so many questions to ask. What happens when you have guests that you know so well? All right, let's see about this. Learning about this sort of stuff. So, I think that everyone here had know, like you guys know, I mean, Sarah, I think, well, you're a freshman in college, so this doesn't count. You technically got
I
a
knew
degree in
nothing
marketing.
about
You knew
life,
nothing about
professional,
marketing.
nothing. Yeah.
And
little
Kaitlin, you were like, we should do marketing based on what I saw. Like, you guys didn't really have you guys weren't like come from big companies with big marketing budgets and things like
Oh,
that. You
no.
guys figured this stuff out. What's your like ways that you go to learn this sort of stuff and stay educated on it? So first of all, make sure your marketing team can continue to learn. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
But where do you guys go to learn the stuff that you know?
So I started with Endless when I actually had a wedding photography business. My degree is in photography, so nothing to do with marketing. And I always said I'd come out of school and be this really big photographer right away without having any idea how to run a business. So I did make it successful. I went 7 years before I decided marketing was more my thing. But I had to just learn everything as I went. And some of the things that helped me still continue learning now are, I love Neil Patel's Marketing School podcast. It's super easy too, because it's like 5 minutes and you can just listen to one really quick, learn a quick fact, and kind of apply it to your business. And then I read a lot of books. So I'm a big fan of Seth Godin. He's recently, his last book, what was it called? I can't remember. But he has lots of good books, and it's really nice to read his books. They just are very oriented on customers. And I think the last one was called Tribes, and it talks about...
This is marketing. I think it's Tribes a little older.
Tribes is really good too. It's about like creating a tribe instead of just having like people that are coming to your site. How do you become kind of indispensable to them? And then Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller is another really good one. But I do a lot of watching YouTube, a lot of reading marketing blogs, all kinds of stuff like that. So I think inbound certifications is a great place for people to start too. If you know like barely anything, it will walk you through a lot and just open a ton of different gates that you might want to go down.
Nice. We'll post all the links to all these books and stuff in the chat for you guys to check out and sign up. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you check out those resources on the blog as well. Well, all right, Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely think the HubSpot just has a great library of all of their Learning Academy, different videos. I kind of swear by those. This is nothing like not a HubSpot promo or anything, but that's just like 2 years ago when I was first starting with the company. I just watched all of those and basically just try to soak up as much information as I could. And Kaitlin and I have been joking because we've just been renewing our certifications because they're only 2 years old. So this year we're like redoing all of them, which is fun to like be a student again. We really enjoy it. But we were just saying like, yeah, now I don't sit down and like watch it for an hour. I kind of like watch their little segment about like email, and then I'm like, oh, this is like something I could totally implement, and I'd go and do a project for a couple hours or something.
Yeah.
So being that lifelong student has been really fun, and just like always learning about the new trends and things like that. I don't think it's necessarily has to be as like by the book as like, oh, like the funnel versus like the flywheel. Like I think a lot of that is like kind of just semantics, but I think they do just like fundamentally have a lot of great like foundational things that you can just like build off of. And yeah, I really enjoy listening to their podcast, Skill Up. It's basically just these two people that talk about, I think the one I just listened to was about SEO, which is really interesting. They're just deep diving into really tactical how to improve your SEO, how SEO is constantly changing, and Google is not what it was even 2 years ago or a year ago. So Skill Up has been something that I've been really interested in. It's a little bit longer, but it's just really great information. So definitely HubSpot's a good resource. They put out a lot of good content. They're really good at creating it, and it's usually really digestible stuff. So that's usually where I do a lot of my learning.
All right. I'll also throw in another random one too, since we're talking about podcasts and HubSpot related stuff. But Hubcast, which is created by a marketing agency known as Inbound B&D. Their blog is great, but that podcast is like, if you're a HubSpot user, it talks about like, here's all the nerdy, super nerdy things that you want to do. And Karina Duffy's the host of it. She crushes it completely. So shout outs to the Hubcast, one of my favorite podcasts too. All right, Sahedi, tell us all the things that you have learned and where do you learn?
all of the things.
So I was actually majored in marketing both in my bachelor's and master's program. So the basic actually came from there, and a lot of the things I actually learned on the job training. So while I was performing the job, a lot of situation came, and based on the task assigned to me and based on the objectives that I had, depending on those, I had to learn and improvise as I move ahead. So for instance, for demand generation, will actually help me a lot and guided me throughout the process on Facebook and LinkedIn all the time. And simultaneously, as I move ahead, there were this group on Facebook, which is Facebook Ad Hacks. And there were this podcast, which is from Digital Marketer, Perpetual Traffic. That also helped a lot. And Kaitlin already said about Marketing School. That was also really helpful. And lastly, HubSpot Academy is so much helpful. They have tons of contents. Just by doing the certification, you can go through a lot of the things. So I think, definitely we have all went through the similar sort of resources to learn the things that we learned, because that's the way of learning, definitely. And I would say on-the-job training also helps. As you have objectives, you will find resources on that. And depending on the resources you have, you learn accordingly in order to perform and fulfill the objectives on hand, task on hand.
Yeah. I would also say like all of us too. I feel like a lot of us kind of just like bounce ideas off of each other a lot, which has been great. And just like finding your little community, like there's a HubSpot user group for Slack. So just like other real people, like it doesn't necessarily have to be like a one way, like reading a book or listening to a podcast. I think also like me too, in case you guys can't tell already, like I'm just a little chatty, so I like to talk to people and like have people talk back and listen. So I think that's a really nice thing to be able to like have that little community and our little endless family to kind of bounce ideas off of each other as well.
Yeah, I thought of that when Sahedi was talking to you. Like, I always ask you guys. I've learned a lot from you guys. I hope you've learned something from me. And then
absolutely.
Also,
Absolutely.
there's like a Facebook group that I'm in called The Daily Carnage. It's also a newsletter that comes daily to your inbox if you're ready for some emails. It's just like the hottest, latest marketing trends, things like that. But the group I use a lot just when I'm like, trying to figure something new out. Maybe someone else has done it, or I'll see an idea that I wouldn't have thought of, and things like that. So just having some kind of group to go to, or some people to bounce ideas off of that can tell you if it's crazy or go for it, is so important.
I like the chat. I just put all the links that you guys said. It was like I was trying to keep up with all the different stuff that you guys shared. That was amazing. I had never heard of Daily Carnage before, so I love learning stuff from you guys too.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah. What have I not asked you guys that I should ask you guys about? Like, I thought about maybe this might be a potential good question, unless you guys want to ask a question that you think would be good too. Is where do you see like the challenges being? And I think one of the things is obviously I'll get the easy one out of the way, but like obviously we're not a gigantic corporation. We're not like Goldman Sachs backed gigantic AV company. And with that being said, like we don't have unlimited budgets and things like that. So we're constantly trying to figure out how to do things on smaller budgets, or hack it together, figure out how we can do it with our existing resources. But what other sort of challenges have you seen, and that you're like, hey, this is something that we're going to be working on, or that I see as trying to solve in the moving forward throughout when it comes to marketing? Get vulnerable for a second as I go back my movie announcer voice.
No more of that voice.
No challenges. That's right, guys. We're perfect in every way. See you guys later. Bye.
No. I would definitely say, I think just like the shifting of the market and like it becoming an online world, and like Kaitlin had kind of mentioned before, just like noise, and with a lot of people, not just from our lovely little video podcast that we're doing, but just people are jumping on this trend, and we don't have to spill these secrets because a lot of people are already doing them and adopting them. And so I think just being unique and kind of standing out still, and kind of like I said before, we're really coming full circle here, but I think just making that one-on-one connection with people, because I think that's even like when I think of myself as a customer in this world, I just want people to authentically care and to be there to help when I need them to, and like in a promptly manner. So I think those are the things that'll be challenging with everything becoming so much faster and scaling up and getting more contacts and everything going more towards online and remote and video. And there's just so much going on that it's kind of hard to stop and really have those connections. And I think that'll be something that will be a little bit of a challenge moving forward. It's something that I think we're at least aware of and we're kind of addressing as it comes. But I am really curious to see how us as well as other companies kind of face this ever quickening world of the consumer versus the merchant. So we'll see how that plays out in the future, but it'll be a challenge for sure.
Yeah, I agree with
I
Sarah.
want to piggyback off that one too, I think.
Go ahead, Will.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. No, you first.
It's
You
fine.
first.
Okay, well, I think
I
some of
was just going to say, like,
Go ahead. I'm literally not going
I
to
think you're on a
until
delay.
you're done.
Someone mute yourself.
Okay. All right. I was gonna say just the fact that everyone's doing it now has been a huge challenge of ours. Just from like an overall standpoint, that like when we first started doing it, no one was doing it, no one thought it was important, and that's why I think we got a leap ahead. But I think that was a big learning though for us too, is that like we had to be willing, like Sarah said, like be unique and really do things weird sometimes, because sometimes if you just continually stay complacent, someone else is gonna do it. So, Kaitlin, all you.
Well, I agree with all that. I think the biggest challenge is like in a world full of so much noise and everyone has a blog and everyone has a podcast now, and pretty soon everyone's going to have video and all that. So like, how do you stand out and how do you reach your audience instead of just throwing things at them? What's actually really helpful? It's so easy to talk about your own brand or your own product and me, but it really needs to focus on the client and what their needs are and what they need help with, what are their fears and what are their goals, and how do you relate your content to them so you're speaking to them in a helpful way, not just like, hey, look at Endless, like we can do your AV. We, like Will mentioned earlier, we talk about AV on the blog, but so many people off the bat don't know we're an AV company when they come to us through the blog, and that's intentional. It's so that we are being helpful and not salesy from the get-go. So I would say that's like the biggest problem or challenge, is just how do you cut through the noise and how do you continue to be helpful throughout all of that.
All right. Challenges. Things that scare you. Sahedi.
I actually fear the noise out there. The competition is so intense on social profiles. If you want to stand out, you have to be very unique and creative in terms of your contents in order to be able to truly get the exposure that you are looking for. So I would say that we have to focus more on quality rather than the quantity. Rather than producing tons and tons of contents, let's produce quality contents and promote those. So it's way more better to produce 1 or 2 quality contents maybe a week, rather than posting 10 to 15 contents, which doesn't actually stand out in the long run. And also I think that personalization is very important. You have to respond to your LinkedIn messages, respond to your emails, because people will inquire about your contents for more information maybe, or they would want to interact with you. You have to interact with every one of them. So it's important that you interact with important people and with your audience. That matters, because you do not want to interact with thousands and thousands of people, because you can't, because of the resources you have. So this is a challenge that lots of people are doing this, and we have to stand out. Yeah,
I'm seeing a trend, big trend throughout all those. Yeah, wow, guys, this has been like really, really intense great of an episode. So we have only a couple minutes left. We talked a little bit about learning, so I'm going to save the resources for the end, but start putting that in the back of your mind as far as resources beyond just places to learn. So maybe like favorite tools or apps or things like that you're using. But we'll start really quickly, briefly with maybe one tip that you have for someone to be able to do today. What do you think that people should be thinking about when it comes to their marketing? Or maybe what do you think is the one thing that you're doing right now that's contributed the most to your success in your specific areas? I ask really hard questions. I know I'm really good at my job as a podcast host, you know.
Well, I think just something that's really easy that people can do is, and that people don't do, and sometimes I even don't do all the time when you're like in a rush or something, but just when it comes to emails and like say you have a handful of contacts and you're not even mass sending out anything, but just like take each email and really think about the end user who it's going to, and then also just kind of like read it out loud or read it in your own like tone of voice so it is casual and personable, because I think a lot of people can just like, you know, send it and forget it, and also send and think that, you know, it's okay to sound kind of robotic, but I think reading it out loud and just like kind of really putting yourself from day one in the perspective of like the consumer. And if you were getting this email, would you like it? Would you hate it? Would it be funny? Would you just get rid of it and archive it? So just, I think that's not necessarily, that's kind of a vague tip, I guess, but just really like changing your mindset from day one, I think is something that anyone can do.
Nice.
I
You
think
got
mine
some.
would-
Oh, go ahead, Kaitlin. Oh my gosh.
Will's trying to cut me off. No, I'm just kidding. I think my tip would just be being intentional with what you're doing, like not just writing to write something, but having a reason behind why you're doing it. And lately I've been using a lot of, content marketers are often like portrayed as like they don't look at data and things like that. But lately I've been super into data, like heat mapping our website and seeing where people go and making sure the through rates are up and all of that. So being intentional about why you're writing your content, why you're making your video, and if that doesn't fit your end goal, then it's just noise. So just really trying to laser focus in on the why of what you're doing and making sure that everything you're doing falls into that.
Nice. All right, Sahedi.
Yeah, my tip is more associated with the demand generation. I would say that with demand gen, it's always work in progress, and it can never be. You can pursue perfection, but you don't have to worry if it doesn't end up well for you. It's always work in progress. You just experiment more and more and get better results as you move ahead.
Damn, that was so succinct. That was awesome. Boom, mic drop. All right, we got a couple minutes left, and I want to do my favorite section, which is honestly one, as this team will know, my favorite section when it comes to marketing is all the apps and resources and things that you use. So we talked a little bit about
I love this.
talk about learning places and like locations and that. So let's stick maybe more to apps that you guys love, tools that you use, things like that. So anyone, just feel free to shout one out, and then we can all be like, yeah, I love that one, or anything like that. Anyone at any point.
Well, I just
Where do
mentioned
we start?
heat mapping. So we use Lucky Orange for heat mapping right now. And it's really great because you can see, for those of you who don't know what heat mapping is, basically we have it tracking our website. That's not the technical term, but it's like tracking our website and creating heat maps of where people go and what they click on and how long they stay in certain places. And for me specifically, it's been really helpful. When I first made one, I was only putting call to actions at the bottom of our blogs. And then our blogs are 2,500-ish words or more, so they're really long. People weren't always getting to the end of the blog. And so as more people drop off, less people have the opportunity to click something. So from that data, I started putting our calls to actions right at the top after the first paragraph before you have to scroll at all. And that's really done a lot of good things for our click-through rates and things like that. So just Lucky Orange if you want to see what people are doing on your website.
And it integrates with HubSpot.
That's all Will cares about. If it integrates, he's like, I'm in.
Yeah, Will loves integration.
Yeah, I would say another thing too, and since we talked about how important video is becoming too, Wistia is a really great thing that we use just to kind of house all of our crazy video projects. When we said we're creating like 5 to 10 a week, so it's really nice to like organize them in folders. And then from like a HubSpot perspective, I'm able to then make a link just straight to the Wistia video, so I can't embed them in emails yet, and people can just watch right in that little link. It's really nice, and then it makes it really easy to embed on landing pages, and it obviously integrates with HubSpot really well. So that's a really good one to use.
And people can't steal your videos too. They're like impossible to rip, so you can't just like grab the URL from YouTube and hit download and steal somebody's content. So it protects your content.
Yeah.
All right,
This one's not very marketing related, but Slack for my team is so important. I have people on so many different time zones, and my writers, like shout out to Mariana. When she's writing, she's over, and I think she's in Portugal now. She keeps traveling around, but I'll read it a completely different time than her. Slack her about it. So we're staying in constant communication. Francis, who is our lovely podcast manager, is in the Philippines. And so it's just something that keeps communication open when you have an all remote team. There's tons of cool marketing tools, but if you're not communicating well, then you're just screwed. So Slack is like our best friend.
Absolutely.
All right, Sahedi, jump in there.
Yeah. So we just recently started using this tool, which is later.com, which is amazing in terms of posting on Pinterest and Instagram. HubSpot offers scheduling, but Later is doing an awesome job. You can even schedule the stories. And there are these websites, there are lots of them where you can get free stock photos. One of them is pixels.com, and there are plenty of others you can use. And those are amazing. And also I would say that it's everyone knows about it, but definitely look through all the details in Facebook and LinkedIn Ads Manager. Those will come in very handy.
All right, keep them coming. What other tools do you guys use?
I think a really important one for analysis is Databox or Databox. I don't know however you say data or data, but Databox. I think it's a really good one. HubSpot has its own tracking system, but I think it's just nice to have another layer just so you can be really confident of where your numbers are coming from. They measure some different analytics as well, and you can make them into really nice, succinct dashboards. So I know I have like a marketing one. Sahedi has his own, and it's really nice so you can kind of be like the owner of that. And then what we've kind of done in the past is just kind of giving like a nice analysis and summary of it, the person who like knows it and understands it, so then it can relay it to the rest of the team really well. So Databox is really nice to use just for the extra analysis for those people who love numbers.
And it integrates with everything.
Yeah, truly everything. So if you're not a HubSpot user, like we've been saying so much, at least you can still use different tools. So
At least you can use it.
I was going to recommend too, what we set Databox to do too is automatically every week we post it in Slack channel, so then everyone can see it. So it's not trapped in email, and it's not just like a URL you have to go to. So it gets posted and then everyone can have conversations about it as well, which is really cool.
Yeah.
All right, what other stuff, guys? Lay it on them.
For those of you who are maybe new to blogging or SEO, this is one we've been using forever, but Yoast, it's a plugin for WordPress. Basically, you can put in the keywords you're trying to target, and it helps kind of walk you through. There's like a stop sign. It's like red for really bad, up to green for really good SEO. And it just kind of gauges where you are and makes suggestions like adding more keywords, or maybe you need to do certain different things. Yoast is a good tool if you don't understand SEO to start learning a little bit more about SEO. I have all my writers kind of start with that, and then I like dump a lot of nerdy information on them after. But Yoast will be your best friend if you're not sure about SEO when you start to do blogging and things like that.
Speaking of WordPress related stuff too, if you have trouble managing your WordPress site, my buddy started a company called WP Buffs. It's my new favorite service that I've really come to appreciate. They basically do WordPress management. They update your plugins, they keep your site secure, they make it faster. And then even if you have like a small issue, like we had actually about a week ago, for some reason, one of the plugins screwed up our website. Like it was like unviewable, and I kind of knew what was causing it, but I didn't know how to fix it. And I was also really busy. So even though I knew could have probably spent hours trying to fix it, I just sent it over to WP Buffs. I said, hey, my site's not working properly. Can you take a look at it? And it turns out that they literally just fixed it right away for me, and they knew exactly what was wrong, which was so cool.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that one.
I'd also say another good one for all teams just to keep in track of each other is Trello. Obviously, the three of us are different department heads, and Will has a bunch of different things going on. So it's really good just to start projects and have that moving over. We have a really well done one for video production, and we're trying to get one for just our sales and marketing team. So we kind of just know the different projects that we're all working on, because obviously from this podcast, you can tell it's a lot sometimes. So it's good to just at least know where everyone's at in their day or in their week. So it's a good one.
All right. Any other tools?
Also adding on to the SEO, for local SEO, we are using Bright Local for the citation campaigns and
that one's been nuts for us. Oh my gosh. How many citations have you done? Like something like 500 citations or something crazy?
Yeah. We did so far.
For everyone who doesn't know what a citation is, whenever you're focusing on local SEO or SEO in general, you want backlinks and people to link to, right? So for local, they want you to be on like everything. They want to be on Yelp, you want to be on like Google Maps, and you have to be in like 4,000 different directories. Well, no one has time to like submit them all. So Bright Local, you just go in, you fill in the information once, and then they submit them all for you, and then tell you how they're managing and everything like that. So we've had a big initiative to rank. So now we rank like #1 for every single local market that we serve for event production company. Fun fact. So hopefully none of our competitors are watching this right now because they're probably pissed that we outrank them now. So, but I think the reason why, just so everyone knows why we're able to do that, is that we rank really high for the term event production company because of all the terms associated with that we also rank high for. So Google just naturally puts us right at the top, and then we decided, hey, why don't we rank #1 for Phoenix, for San Diego, for Orlando? And that's been a fun project for Sahedi over the last couple months, is getting that all built out. And Sarah having to build 4,000 different landing pages for it too.
Yeah, that I have to edit one by one.
Kaitlin had to write unique content for every landing page that was hyper local to each one. So you can see how like it touched a project that was just all about ranking #1 for certain keyword terms, touched literally 3 different people within our team, which is really cool. All right, any other last minute tools at all, guys? Went a little bit over because there's so much cool tools to share.
Yeah, I could go on too long about tools, so I think I got the good ones.
All right, good stuff. All right, well, I'm gonna wrap this one up. You guys, this has been awesome. I love. Hopefully, everyone's found valuable the peel back into the endless onion that is marketing. And
okay,
the onion.
And the thing about it is, as you peel it back, it makes you cry, right? Like so you're just like, no, there's so much to do. That was a good metaphor. I mean,
that was good. That was good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But I hope you guys found this super duper helpful. Big, humongous, gigantic. I mean, I can never give these guys enough thanks. Like just even thanks on podcast, but thanks for everything that you guys do. Kaitlin, Sarah, Sahedi, thank you guys for all your hard work. And thank you for taking time to share some of your secrets.
Of course.
Yeah.
It was fun.
All right. Well, everyone,
finally on the show.
Yeah, finally our time in the spotlight.
Now we're never going to put you back on here after this.
I will make us a new episode.
Caitlin's like rewriting all the episodes to be like, and guest Kaitlin Colston, and guest Kaitlin Colston.
Marketing tricks part 2.
There you go. There you go. We're going to need a part 2 for this one for sure.
Podcast. Who knows?
Oh, there you go. There you go. All right, if you want them to have their own podcast, you know where to put the comments. Tag them on social and tell them as well. So again, these guys, they see everything that you guys post. So whenever you guys tag someone on social, send an email, they're the ones who get to see it. So definitely give them some shouts. All right, let's wrap this one up because we're going a little bit later than usual, and I'm sure Mariana is going to be really angry that she has to write an extra like 100 words for this one.
Sorry, Assad, when you go to edit this. Assad is our amazing video editor, production, like he's behind all our videos, so that's why I said that.
Yep. If you see a video, it touches Assad. So all right, thank you guys so much. Remember, if you are watching this right now on your favorite podcasting app, Stitcher, Spotify, which is huge right now, iTunes, wherever you're watching this right now, if you're not watching this live, head to event-icons.com. And even if you don't want to watch it live, make sure to subscribe so we send you the best episodes, the highlights. We also send you exclusive invites to our in-person events that we have coming up over the next coming months. So stay tuned for those as well. It's going to be really exciting. And, just if you aren't watching this live, you're missing out because there's so much great conversation in the chat this week. Big shout outs to everyone who watched. And, just come join us and ask us hard questions because, makes my job easier. Let's be honest.
And I even remind you about
Thank you guys.
Minutes before each episode. So there's no excuses.
Exactly.
Done.
Sarah will be in your inbox every day. And if you need a friend, you can just reply to Sarah and ask her how her week's treating her, and just say like, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate all the emails that you send. And then and then on social media, you can send a message to Sahidi's team, and they'll reply back. And then you can share Kaitlin's content. It'll make her very happy. So you guys know what to do. You guys, let's get out of here. I'm getting loopy. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You've been amazing, our live audience. Let's get out of here, and we'll see you guys all next time on Event Icons.
Bye,
See ya.
guys.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of #Event Icons. To catch all the bonus content, resources mentioned, and an invite to our Facebook and LinkedIn groups, head to www.event-icons.com. Also, let us know what you thought about this week's episode. Share your biggest takeaway. Just tag your post with #Event Icons. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on #Event Icons.